Hello, Wonderhussy here, in the middle of nowhere, in an extremely desolate part of Oregon. That's right, I'm finally branching out beyond California and Nevada, and I'm all the way up in fabulous Oregon, trying to get to a plane crash site. That's right, a B-24 went down on February 2nd, 1945. It was a World War II airplane in World War II. World War II didn't end until, what, August 45? This was February 2nd. This B-24 went down, I think, on the ridge up there behind me. Oh gosh. The road up there has been pretty rough, and I still have about a mile and a half more to go. But I feel like I can probably make it. I read some blogs by some other people that went up here, and, well, a lot of times what I've found is that people make these roads sound way worse than they actually are. Either that or I just have brass friggin' balls, and last time I checked, I don't have balls at all. Anyway, I'm going to try to make the rest of this road. I think that might be it, going up along the side of this mountain there to that flat up there, which, ironically enough, I think is called Propeller Flat. Anyway, the plane crash wreckage should be pretty easy to find. I think some other adventurers left a memorial plaque up there because 11 people died in this plane crash. It was terrible. So, kind of a sobering place to visit, but also, well, I feel like it might be a nice place to camp if that's not sacrilegious, because golly, it's real hot down in the valley below. It's June 9th. It was like in the upper 80s down there. And up here, oh my gosh, it's nice. It's in the 70s. It's beautiful. It's green. There's wildflowers everywhere. And up there, I think the elevation is like 7,900 feet. So it should be even better with spectacular views. I guess as long as I pay my proper respects first to the plane crash victims, it should be okay to camp there. Yikers! Balls or no balls, I do have a sphincter, and it is puckered. Oh, okay, yikes. I guess that's what I get for being cocky. That was maybe the worst road I've ever driven. The last little bit to get up here, I was wrong about it being that line that went across the ridge that I was pointing at, but well, it was no better. It was steep. There was a ton of big loose rocks. Don't even think about coming up here without mega high clearance and giant beefy tires. Anyway, enough about me. This is actually about the 11 men, I think it was all men, who lost their lives in this plane crash. And would you look at this? There is a little memorial, and there's a bunch of American flags placed here. The biggest of which looks like it's on the engine. Wow. Oh my goodness. And there's bits of this crash scattered all over this beautiful, desolate, high mountain meadow. And we'll go check them all out, but you know what? First I gotta put on a hoodie. It's actually chilly up here. Let me check my altimeter too. Okay, we're at 6,900 feet, not 7,900 feet, but it's still way up there, and it's still chilly. And gosh, it must have been a terrible, terrible way for this plane to go down. I mean, I guess there is no good way for a plane to go down, but gosh, from what I was reading, it was a clear night when it happened. And I'm not sure they actually ever did figure out what caused the crash, because they did clear, one of these ridges here. Like somebody there's a little town down at the base of this mountain, and it's the only settlement for many, 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 many miles in any direction. And somebody in that town saw the plane crash. They saw the explosion up on the ridge. And so I think that person's eyewitness account, they first saw the plane clear this ridge, but then they saw it kind of nosedive from there. And well, what happened is anyone's guess. I mean, maybe there's more information on this plaque, but the only thing we know for sure is that it was a terrible crash. And Well, these were 11 war deaths. This happened in World War II, so these people died in the service of their country. Okay, let's see what this memorial says. Oh, look, there's a guest book underneath it. That's cool. We'll have to check that out, too. World War II B-24D Crash Site Memorial in memory of the crewmen. Says on February 9th. Oh, I thought it was February 2nd. Got that information wrong. I'm sorry. On February 9th, 1945, at approximately 10 p.m., this aircraft, a consolidated B-24D, serial number 4240427, crashed at this location in the Pueblo Mountains. I guess this is called the Pueblo Mountains. The plane was on a round-robin navigation training mission from Gowan Field in Boise, Idaho, headed to Hamilton Field in California. I'm not sure where in California that is. An eyewitness in the town below recalled seeing the plane fly over Pueblo Mountain on its return from California. Oh, so it was coming this way. And for some unknown reason, turned sharply to the left, narrowly missing the summit as it crossed back over to the southwest. This maneuver cost the plane 2,500 feet in altitude. And a few seconds later, it crashed into the west side of the mountain at the 7,500 foot level. Okay, so if we're at 6,900, it must have crashed against that or into that bluff right up above us. All 11 men on board were killed. The cause of the crash was never determined. Oh my gosh, so they don't know. Well, here's the names of those that were killed in this plane crash, so we can take a minute to honor them. Second Lieutenant Edward A. Buchek, Pilot Second Lieutenant Alan D. Blake, Navigator First Officer Anton Pecknick, Bombardier First Officer Roy L. Pearson, Staff Sergeant Dean H. Sauter, Corporal Arthur G. Manchester, Corporal Edmund J. Green, Private First Class George B. Wilkins, a poor private. Private First Class Carl E. McDaniel, Private First Class Sidney M. Davis, and Technical Sergeant Ernest E. Campanen, all of whom were based at Gowan Field. Then it says, rest in peace. Please honor those who lost their lives here while serving our country. Please do not remove anything from this site so that future generations can come to pay their respects. Take only pictures and memories back home with you. Oh, I guess they have to say that because, I mean, I know plane crash people are, if you're a plane crash fan, please don't take this in a bad way, but well, you guys can be kind of nutty sometimes about collecting mementos from plane crashes. And so I guess they don't want people scavenging anything from this site. And rightly so. I mean, this is basically a graveyard. And whoever made this memorial plaque did a really nice job. I mean, look at this. Printed on some kind of metal. Really nice. And then, like I said, there's a little trail box down here. We'll check that out. But let's check out the... Well, let's look over here first. This is the biggest piece of wreckage. And there's a full-size American flag affixed to it. Look at that. Oh my gosh. It always freaks me out to look at these melted metal on these plane crash components. I mean, yikes. The heat of this explosion must have been just insane. I mean, it's funny because, you know, some parts of it look almost untouched. But then some parts of it... boy, you can see something really nasty happened. Golly. I mean, I don't know what any of this stuff is, so I'm just going to kind of go around and film stuff. And if you're into airplanes, you'll know what these pieces are. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to take anything, but I hope it's okay to at least, you know, pick up a piece. You know, it's heavier than I would have expected. Usually with this aircraft wreckage, it's very lightweight metal. But this was a B-24, and I don't know anything about aircraft again, but weren't those pretty big, heavy airplanes? I mean, oh gosh, look at that. It says 064. And like I said, there's debris scattered all over this beautiful meadow. Really a jarring contradiction, you know, against beautiful little flowers and grass and... Oh man, there's footprints here. Somebody was just up here. Apparently people are brave enough to tackle this road. But that's cool, you know? I mean, assuming they're not just coming up here to loot and scavenge stuff, I guess it's nice for those who perished here, or the families of those who perished here, that there are still people that are making this treacherous journey to come up here and pay their respects. So, you know, it's not really any consolation of the fact they lost their lives, but... well, it's nice. God, this is just so somber up here. It's very... oh, it's depressing, frankly. I mean, it's not like I expected this to be Disneyland, but I don't know. I've been to a few plane crash sites before, and well, I guess they all do sort of have a somber vibe, but this one, I don't know, something especially somber about this because of its sheer desolation. And I think also part of what makes it sad for me is it was so close to the end of the war, okay? February of 45, you know, they just had what? 6 more months to go? Ugh. It's like in the movies, you know, it's their last day before retirement. Really sad. I mean, look at this. Like melted radiator? Is that what that was? Looks like it. Oh my goodness. The heat. I mean, look at how charred this piece of metal is. I mean, it's just, you can see that it was in flames. Oh, golly. Oh man, and then looking around here, you can see scattered in the bushes and grasses all over there's little bits and pieces of this thing. This thing blew up into a bunch of pieces. Oh my goodness, what do you think this was? It's like a knob of some sort. Oh my god. Oh wow, look at this. Looks like some kind of hydraulic piston or something. Oh gosh, I have no idea what I'm talking about. As you know by now, if you've been watching my videos, I know nothing about mechanical stuff, but I mean, look at that. Look how shiny it still is. After all these years. I mean, how many years is that now? 77? Yeah, 77 years ago this thing went down. Oh my goodness, look at this. It's like a big steampunk nightmare. Rusted and burned and melted. Yikes, oh my god. Yeah, isn't that like from one of the engines on the side? I mean, I only know what I see looking out the window if I get a window seat on a commercial jet. That's about the extent of my aircraft familiarity, unfortunately. Look at this. I wonder why all these rivets, and some of them are missing. God, these pieces are so heavy. Can you imagine the sound this thing made when it broke up? I mean, it's desolate country out here, but whoever was in that little town down there probably surely must have heard it. I mean, it being so still and desolate out here, you know, like it would have just echoed for miles, I would think. And I think it's kind of cool. Like, people are so respectful at this site that I bet all this wreckage is probably still laying exactly where it fell on February 9th, 1945. You know, final resting place. Obviously, the human remains were recovered. And I'm sure the recovery couldn't have been easy. I mean, it was tough enough for me getting up here in my cushy, comfy 4Runner. I did have to go into 4 low, which was unusual, but you know what I mean? Imagine the rescue operation. It was 10 p.m., so it was dark. I mean, I'm assuming well, maybe they landed a helicopter up here. I can't imagine they tried to drive up the road, but I guess probably some people did. And man, unfortunately, no survivors. Ugh. I mean, you can pretty much tell there were no survivors from the looks of this wreckage. This is pretty grim. And it's been here so long that some of it looks like it's almost like blending back into the earth, you know? Okay, let's see what's in this guest book and who the last person here was and when they came. Oh gosh, it's sealed up nice and tight in a weatherproof baggie. Oh my goodness, look at, people come from all over the place. California, Oregon. Oh look, somebody left a card here. Thank you for your military service. You are appreciated. Thanks to you, the United States will remain free and strong. God bless you and your family for all you have sacrificed. Oh, I guess it's just a card people hand out. Okay, here we go. Oh, look, somebody was here today. Truckee Riders came to pay respects. Wow, I just missed them. Then somebody was here 5 days ago. Here for a good time, round 2. Got squirrel to the top. I wonder what squirrel is. Okay, it's real windy here, so I can't really look through the notebook because all the papers are separated and it'll just end up blowing all over the place. But it's just people signing their names, paying their respects. Very frequently visited site, I'll say that. These entries go back to about 2012, so 10 years worth of people coming up here. I just wrote my name and respect, rest in peace. I mean, really, what more can you say? I'm not gonna you know, brag about how I made it up on this gnarly road, or the damage I did to my undercarriage, or whatever. I mean, frankly, my undercarriage probably looks not too unlike some of these pieces of metal. But this isn't the place to talk about that. I feel like, you know, this is a somber place. It's just a place to pay respects, and so let's just keep it simple. Now, there was something else very interesting in this bag. There's a folded up laminated newspaper article about it, and it's really interesting because, well, the article is from the Redding, California Record Searchlight from July 1996. Tuesday, July 23rd, 1996. And according to this article, it says, oh gosh, it's so windy. Remains of World War II crew and bomber found. That's right. If this is to be believed, and it's a photocopy from the newspaper, it says gold prospectors uncovered human remains in the remote eastern Oregon desert that may be part of a World War II bomber crash near the Nevada border. Charred pieces of a skull, vertebrae, fingers, legs, and hips were found at the remote site where a B-24 Liberator bomber went down in early 1945. But little is left of the plane except 4 badly damaged 1,200 horsepower Pratt & Whitney engines, that must be what we saw, scattered wiring and aluminum. The fuselage, tail, and 110-foot wings are gone. I did wonder about that. Either destroyed in the crash or carried away later. Anyway, what's interesting too about this is it says, according to a 1945 article in the nearby town's newspaper, the bomber crashed March 2nd, 1945, killing the crew of 9. So it seems to me there's some conflicting information here. Was it 9 or 11 who died? Was it February 9th, March 2nd? I mean, this article goes on to say that between 1941 and the end of the war, 18,188 B-24 bombers were built. So over 18,000 of these bombers were built. The Liberator carried a crew of 10 for combat operations. So if it only could carry a crew of 10, well, I don't understand how 11 were on board. So I don't know. There's some things that don't quite add up, but well, maybe this, you know, newspaper might have just reported on it without having all the facts straight. What I do think is interesting is these 2 prospectors, prospectors Dan Anderson and Lenny Keith Collis, found the fire-blackened bones, a pocket watch, wristwatch, pliers, dog tags, belt buckles, and other artifacts before notifying police. Can you imagine these 2 guys were just up here prospecting, you know, poking along, looking for rocks, and then all of a sudden they stumble across this really grisly plane wreckage and human remains? I mean, I can't imagine what that would have been like to find the dog tags, the pocket watch. Oh my God. So I guess they did. They went down and notified the police, and that's how they finally found this crash site. So if this article is true, then gosh, it took, well, 1996 from 45, over 50 years, 51 years for the remains of these servicemen to even be found. So for all those 51 years, you know, their parents probably passed away never knowing where their children's remains were. It's just terrible. So that makes it even doubly nice that people came up here and put all these flags up here now. Although a list of the crew members has been found, it won't be released until the remains are excavated and everyone is certain the list corresponds to the personnel aboard the downed bomber. So I guess they were able to confirm, well, 96, I guess they had DNA testing, who all the bones belong to, and so I'm sure they've all been properly interred in military cemetery somewhere. But wow, isn't that wild to think that this plane crash and all these 10, 11 people's remains, I guess 11 people, I mean, there was 11 names on that plaque, so they must have identified 11 people. To think that 11 people's remains lay up here on this lonely plateau for 51 years and no one knew where they were. I mean, like I said, the guy saw the explosion in the sky and he knew it went down somewhere up here, but I guess they just, you know, I was talking about earlier how they did the rescue. I guess they didn't even attempt a rescue mission because, well, I don't know, maybe, wartime, maybe resources were diverted elsewhere, but it seems to me if a bomber went down, you would send some, I mean, what if there had been survivors? Gosh, that doesn't really make sense to me, but maybe that's just how things were in wartime. I know, like, all the resources had to be directed towards the war effort, and, well, let's see, February 45 was, I mean, things were really coming to a head. I feel like Hitler was already on the outs. He was already, wasn't he already in his bunker then? So like the US probably had a pretty good feeling they were going to win, but man, they still had to, you know, all the men were overseas, all the, you know, women were drawing lines on their legs, and everybody was growing tomatoes in their backyard and doing what they could for the war effort. Oh my God, it's just terrible. Oh, what a place. Yeah, I'm gonna put this back in this otter box here. There. Latch her up very securely. Make sure nothing's gonna blow out. All right, well, I feel like I should take off my hat and pay my respects before I leave. Seems like the decent thing to do. Oh my goodness. Well, that's about all there is to this lonely plane crash memorial. Like I said, it's a beautiful final resting place. And gosh, you know how I was talking earlier about, oh, I might camp up here? I would never camp here. Not only does it seem creepy, spooky, you know, to camp where a bunch of people died, but also just, yeah, it seems kind of disrespectful, and well, it basically would be like camping in a cemetery. And even I'm not that crazy. No, I think what I'm gonna do is, well, I'm gonna drive back down the road a ways. I don't wanna go all the way back down to the valley floor because it's hot down there, but gosh, I wanna at least go down past that really sketchy section of road, because I don't think I'd be able to sleep a wink for having nightmares about driving down it in the morning. So I'm gonna go down and leave this peaceful but sad place. And well, hopefully, I hate to say you enjoyed this video, but you know, one thing's for sure, not many people would be able to get up here and see this thing. You'd have to have the appropriate vehicle and the time and the gas, and I'm supremely fortunate that I have all of those. And so I'm happy to share places like this with you if you're curious about aircraft, aviation disasters, World War II history, or just American history in general. One last look at the crash site before we leave, and one final salute to our military heroes.